Another season of Death Battle has come and gone, and we are now in my co-worker's least favorite part of the year, when I won't stop complaining about having to wait for the next season, and I won't shut up about how good the last season was. But seriously, this is up there as one of the best seasons this show has done, potentially the best. That's still up in the air. But I wanted to put all my thoughts in video format so everyone can get really mad at me for not liking their favorites as much as they do. This script is long already, so I will keep this short and get right into last place, number 16. This is one of those episodes that is very weird to rank, mainly because it clearly wasn't made for me. I'm a huge fan of the actual versus debate side of Death Battle, but come on. The fight is the main draw, and I love the big spectacles. This episode was kind of lacking there. It worked for the vibe they wanted, going for an old detective movie type vibe. But the fight, especially the first half, feels like nothing is happening. The only good moments from this fight are the dragon scene and the end, which actually is my favorite part. While I mostly didn't vibe with this episode, going for a super philosophical end to the fight, especially with these two characters, worked really well. As for the analysis, it was fine. Both sections were alright, but had a few flaws. Martian Manhunters had a few too many jabs at DC's writing. Not to where it was overwhelming, but to the point where it started to feel that they didn't like Jean. As for Silver Surfers, for one, I'm not a fan of the surfer jokes from Boomstick. I get them, they can be funny, but they just didn't fit this episode. Every one felt weird in the moment, though my main problem is how they talk about his power and the power cosmic. I felt tricked. It felt like they wanted to hype up Jean and play down Surfer just to make people think Martian Manhunter would win. The episode overall has some problems and such that I sometimes can't overlook. But overall, this episode is a 5 out of 10. Middle of the road. What does that tell you about this season, though? If the worst episode is sitting solidly on a 5, the most mid, not bad, this season must be good. Sometimes you get an episode that has characters you don't know, and it ends up being amazing, but sometimes it definitely hurts the experience. I've been meaning to watch Hunter x Hunter, just haven't gotten around to it. As for a certain magical index, there is a chance I had heard of it before, but I couldn't tell you where. Both analyses were pretty good, but I have a few gripes. Killua's pacing felt weird, and it felt like, especially in the first half, they were skipping over a bunch of story to talk about his power set. Plus, the Killua puns, I know they're easy with this show, especially with both characters having kiloton level feats, but it was way overdone, to the point of being annoying, not funny. With Misaka, her analysis was pretty good. It seemed to cover her story well while also showing off her abilities, and oh my god, we made another fucking Killua tons pun. Nonetheless, her analysis was good. The fight is, well, a bit stiff. I get the feeling both sprites are custom, since, as far as I'm aware, a certain scientific railgun doesn't have a video game. And since having the sprites look good together is important, both were probably custom made. And they look good, but the fighting is a bit stiff for most of it. I've heard some people say the beginning is weird, because that situation should not have sparked a fight to the death, but to that I have 2 points. 1, most death battles wouldn't end that way. And 2, from what I've been told, it's actually pretty in character for both. Now I will say, once Killua goes Godspeed, the fight really picks up. With the Sand Golem and Killua in the air with a snake thing behind him, whatever that means, they just go so hard. One big gripe with the fight is the way Killua gets killed. Not like getting exploded, but right before that, getting encased in, like, stone or something? What the hell is that? I swear, they never brought up this ability of hers. Whatever. Anyway, the conclusion is concise, and I don't really have more to say there. One thing this episode threw me for a loop with was the videos they cut to. They used a Big Bang Theory clip, the Tom and Jerry yell, and a clip from fucking Total Drama. 10 out of 10. Wait, they made another Killua Tons pun. 6 out of 10. After 2 seasons of absolute bangers being the premiere, we were bound to get just a good one eventually. And here it is. Both analyses were fine. Nothing special, but they were both good. I will say, I think the pizza is science jokes were actually pretty funny and in character for Boomstick, but I think there were a few too many scenes that are just bullying Wiz. Not really funny or anything, just kind of there. As for the fight, it was pretty good for the kind of limited pool of powers these two have. They did a well choreographed and entertaining fight, but that's all it is. Nothing big or special. Well, except for the ending. Holy hell, I was not expecting that, and I am glad they went there. Do I feel bad for Adam? Yes, but that was a cool as shit ending. The conclusion was good, and explained everything well, but was pretty standard. Of course, they end on bullying Wiz, but also, am I dumb? What was the ending pun about? He was the one who had to say uncle? I'm so confused about that. Anyway, the episode was mostly pretty standard, but it had a few good highlights. But as you can see from how short this segment is, I don't got a whole lot to say. So I feel confident giving this a 6 out of 10. This is probably up there for one of the episodes I was most excited for. Lilo and Stitch is my favorite Disney movie, and Rocket is my favorite member of the Guardians. Did this episode meet my admittedly extremely high expectations? Not really. It was good though. Hearing them go over Stitch and his story was amazing, with a few hiccups. Most of them aren't that big, but I'm not a fan of them referring to Lilo as a devil child. While she is a bit weird, she was acting out because her parents passed, and she didn't know how to cope with losing her parents and, in a way, losing her sister, since Nani had to become more of a mother for Lilo. As for Rockets, it was pretty standard, nothing that spectacular, but I actually laughed at the space jail joke, and holy shit is that Bucky O'Hare. Amazing. I also really liked the bit of Boomstick going on about raccoons. It's nice seeing these in-character rants. As for the fight, it was fun. The setup makes sense, and the fight taking place on Space Hawaii is pretty funny. And Rocket actually got to use a good bit of his arsenal. It was pretty comedic, and Rocket throwing everything he had at Stitch, and Stitch just getting annoyed and such. Rocket understanding Stitch both makes sense and leads some pretty funny jokes. There are some moments that look a little stiff, but they are few and far between. The ending is pretty damn good too, and while killing Ice Cream Guy got a chuckle out of me the first time, it feels like something I would have seen back in, like, season 1 or 2. The conclusion explained the winner well, and I gotta point out Jailhouse Rocket. Such a different song type, but it bops. I feel good giving this a 7 out of 10. Pretty damn good episode. I will say, a lot of people predicted this episode. I didn't see it happening this season with everything that went down with Justin Roiland, but hey, here we are, and I made a pretty damn good episode. Let's start with Rick's analysis. It did something I never would have expected. Made Rick and the entire show of Rick and Morty not annoying. I stopped watching years ago because the show got more annoying and stupid than cool and funny. But they went through his story, abilities, and tech so well that I'm actually considering giving it another shot. As for the Doctor, it starts off pretty interesting, then they use a freaking Alf clip. They are killing it with these clips to other shows this year. But the analysis also did something I wasn't expecting. Made me very interested in watching Doctor Who, a show I never planned on picking up ever. Is now sitting on my watch list to, realistically, never be watched. But I'll say I'm gonna watch it for the next few years. The fight was good. The animation looks clean, and the pretty constant change of scenery is nice for this fight. The voice acting is... Alright, look. Rick is one of those voices that if you don't get it exact, it's gonna sound really off. Brent Williams is doing really good, but because it isn't Justin Roiland, it sounds really off-putting. As for the Doctor, he's doing pretty... Wait, is that Elliot Corsley? The guy who actually voices the 10th Doctor in Doctor Who Lockdown? That's cool as shit. Anyway, they use both characters' personalities very well, and Rick gets to show off a good chunk of his massive arsenal. Plus, the ending was pretty funny. Also, getting to see a bunch of past combatants just hang out in a mall. I like to think getting on Death Battle gives you full access to this mall to hang out with other contestants. The conclusion was very well put together and broke everything down very well and in a lot of detail. I'm going to go ahead and say 7 out of 10. Now, that may sound low for all the praise I gave, but notice how I didn't spend much time on the fight. That's because while it is well animated, the actual fight just felt to me. Not bad, but not great either. Never thought I would hear Boomstick quote Edgar Allan Poe, but it worked out good. The moment I saw this announced, I thought, Raven is so fucked. And as the analyses went on, that thought didn't go away. Gene's analysis was good, pretty standard, though I liked that they're trying to make the Marvel and DC parts more unique to each character, rather than bringing up the same few feats that a bunch of characters scale to. Also, the Jean Grey death joke got me so hard. It's rare that I will pause a video to laugh, but this did it. Raven's analysis was, again, pretty standard. Not bad, it's just cool seeing them talk about Raven. And I know I brought up that I didn't like how much they poked fun at DC's writing for Martian Manhunter. Pointing out DC's inability to just stick with Raven and Beast Boy being together is amazing. As for the fight, it's a damn spectacle. It has a great sense of scale, slowly building from throwing buildings to throwing planets. The dialogue leaves a bit to be desired, though. Both voice actresses are doing a great job, but the lines they are given weren't great. Plus, they had the evil laughing scene. I find it very hard to have that and make it actually sound and look menacing. Here, it just looked and sounded goofy. While I liked the ending, I think it went on a bit too long. I feel it would have been better to just end the fight after Raven blows out the fire and wait! Raven won? Yes, this is one of the more controversial episodes this season due to the outcome. Now, I don't know enough about the Phoenix to give a full opinion there, but their conclusion seems pretty convincing. But who knows? Plus, Forevermore is a fucking bomb track. Episode is easily a 7 out of 10. We have entered the great tier of episodes. This is one of the only matchups I predicted for this season, and I am still proud of that. Vader's analysis was a lot of fun, and we even have a Phineas and Ferb clip right near the beginning. But it's always nice hearing a Star Wars analysis, because it's rare they are the same, and this one is especially unique as it doesn't include the black hole or holding the planet together feats. I kind of wish they had focused a bit on Vader's redemption during the end of his analysis, but it's not the end of the world. Obito's was really good, a new look at an Naruto character which, like Star Wars, is usually very different from the other characters, though outside of that, I don't have much special to say. Now before the fight, they include a fucking ERB clip and Vader playing golf? Amazing. The fight is amazing. The setup makes a lot of sense, and it has a nice flow to it. Both characters got their cool as shit moments, and Vader is treated like the absolute badass he is. The fight has some really amazing shots. Vader's mask breaking and getting a view of his eye before he stabs Obito, the reveal of the Ten Tails, and probably my favorite scene, the entire top of Vader's mask being broken before he force pushes Obito away. It was so badass. Now I do have a problem with the ending, because the setup is amazing, but the actual kill feels lackluster in comparison. Putting Vader in the Infinite Tsukuyomi was good, but just quickly crushing him with a DNA sword felt bland. The conclusion was pretty good detail, and they seemed to cover all their bases. This episode was a solid 8 out of 10. About 10 years from when people started asking for it. Was the wait worth it? I'd say so. Cole's analysis is pretty good. Seeing Infamous get a bit of spotlight is always nice, especially since they need to make another game. Anyway, for the most part, everything was really good, except for the evil Cole joke. I know what they were going for with the theme of this episode, using cringy sayings and humor from when these games came out, but the evil Cole segment is just not funny. But other than that, his breakdown is nice. Now, I'm a bigger Prototype fan than I am an Infamous fan, so hearing them talk about Alex was a very high level of nostalgia. Also, when did Prototype get a comic? Why was I not informed? Anyway, going over a story was nice, especially since I haven't played the games in so long that I actually forgot a few of the twists, like Alex being the main bad guy in the sequel. The fight has a rough start. Alex looks very stiff, and the lip movement is weirdly flat when he speaks. Plus, the music takes a minute to pick up, which by itself is fine, But it's very weird seeing Alex throw out a bunch of tentacles and having Cole quickly dodge around them with just a slow piano playing in the background. But for the moment the music picks up and Cole starts sliding down a tentacle, the fight really picks up. It has amazing action that really shows off both their arsenals. One thing not working in their favor is something not really in their control: the models. Both of these characters are from PS3 and Xbox 360 games, and haven't seen the light of day on newer gen consoles outside of ports. So the models look dated, as well as some stiff movements drag down the fight a bit. But the amazing display of abilities and some very nice banter between the two makes up for it. The ending of the fight is what really sells it for me. From the moment Alex starts stabbing into Cole all the way right before the death, it is just incredible. However, let's talk about that death. It's a little lame. Both of them have massive pools of abilities and powers, and you choose to end the fight by just absorbing Alex's bioelectricity? Kinda lame. The conclusion is good and well put together as usual, and actually even talks about the outcome of Alex versus Evil Cole. If it wasn't for the stiff movement and the reliance on making fun of 2013 memes and humor, this episode could have been amazing, but as it stands, it's still a great episode. Solid 8 out of 10. Honestly, this is a great example of why I love the Champions Ballot or the Tournament of Champions, giving matchups that may not have ever happened the chance to shine and become great episodes. Sometimes an episode has characters you don't know and it hurts the experience. Sometimes it makes you really want to watch something. Gojo's analysis was so entertaining. They did such a good job making him seem like the guy, and honestly, it makes me really want to start Jujutsu Kaisen. I even chuckled at the math joke. Makima's analysis was just as good, if not better. It got me interested in the entire world of Chainsaw Man, not just Makima. And both of them did this while relaying all the versus facts and feats flawlessly. The fight is a lot of fun, but it has a few hiccups for me. I feel the start is a little slow. Not a bad way to start the fight, but I feel it drags a bit. But holy shit, right after that we have a seamless transition into the fight, plus amazing transitions between sprite and hand-drawn. From what I understand about both characters, they were both represented very well, and the fight just keeps amping up, leading to one of the coldest scenes, the finger gun scene. Seeing the look of absolute shock on Gojo's face when he got hit was immaculate. But then this leads to the coldest moment in the fight. Unlimited void into a hollow purple. The effects team went ungodly hard there. Oh my god. Now, my other gripe is, I feel like the fight is a bit short, but it still works. The conclusion for this one is long, and for good reason. Hell, they literally laid out rules just for this fight to make it compatible. They explained everything perfectly, giving both characters their dues, and leaving me with a solid 9 out of 10 episode. Sometimes when we get the announcement of a character returning, I get a bit worried. It's very easy to just repeat everything you said before and be very uncreative, but I had hoped that with 8 seasons between the 2 different Guts episodes, that wouldn't happen, and I was right. Guts' analysis hits all the main bases of his first time in the show while also going much more in depth and farther in his story. Obviously, the show is much better at these things, and Berserk has gotten a lot longer since then. Plus, seeing Boomstick try to use a weapon and failing is extremely funny to me after seeing him do shit like call Mjolnir. As for Dimitri, Fire Emblem is one of those games I was aware of and I thought about playing, but probably never would. But damn, this story is interesting. I actually thought the comparison of Berserk and Fire Emblem, a Nintendo game, was extremely funny, and I shared this thought on Reddit. I was quickly told that while not as dark as Berserk, Fire Emblem is extremely dark and adult for being a Nintendo game. But I am legitimately considering buying 3 houses so I can play this story for myself. Getting into the fight once again, I gotta praise the effect artists. The snowy mountaintop they are on looks amazing. Plus, both voices sound great, and from the little I know of Fire Emblem, both characters are in character, and holy shit, listen to that music. I've only brought up tracks a couple times now, but God's Hand is such an amazing track both in backing this and just listening on its own. The animation team and the writing team must have been on fucking something, because the fight choreography is next fucking level. Both characters get some real solid licks in, and have a real back and forth. Dimitri trying to block Dragon Slayer, only to get fucking smashed with it, is so funny to me. But all of this leads to what might be one of the best shots in death battle history. Dimitri hearing the voices of his fallen family and Guts being tempted to go berserk. Title drop. Leading is not only one of the best line deliveries ever with down to the last one, but also a much cooler berserk armor scene than in Guts vs. Nightmare. This leads to an amazing, fast, and bloody exchange of blows that actually has my only criticism in the fight. This section should have been longer, but I get it. Time and budget are a bitch. But now, Dimitri hits his big move, but Guts is still moving, so obviously he's gonna... Holy fuck! They put a fake out in the fake out. Then we get Dimitri showing full respect to Guts and immediately jumping to protect his soul from the demons, while leaving Guts standing while dead, making him look like a complete and total badass? My god, my heart can't handle this level of absolute peak. Plus, the post-analysis is extremely in-depth and covers most, if not all, bases to explain this outcome. There is not a world that exists that this doesn't receive a 10 out of 10. Oh, what's that? I still have 6 more episodes to go? And I've already started handing out 10 out of 10s? That's right. And what does that tell you about the rest of this season? We need to let these people cook more often. While the matchup of Freeza vs. Megatron is not great, they made gold out of shit because my god is this episode a spectacle. For starters, Frieza's analysis did something I thought they would never do. Taught me something about Dragon Ball. I am a massive DBZ fan. Hell, I'm fucking named after it. And I have spent a lot of time learning a bunch of stuff about Dragon Ball. But I never knew that Frieza was based off land sharks. It makes perfect sense, though. The rest of the analysis is good, and this episode keeps up the trend of making analyses that rely on scaling to other characters still unique, only briefly bringing up the Goku Beerus Punch clash and focusing on his abilities, forms, and accomplishments. Megatron's analysis did something I knew it would, make me interested in Transformers lore again. It happened with Optimus, and now it's done again, but even better. I would also like to add, holy shit, why did it take 5 years to bring Transformers back? What the actual hell? But the focus on Megatron's story of being a revolutionary is extremely well done and a good contrast to Frieza's. Let's be real, DBZ storytelling isn't abysmal until Super, but after the Cell Saga, it wasn't great. So getting to hear this amazing tale of someone fighting for a just cause, then falling to their anger, to then later realize the monster they have become and redeeming themselves, all while still getting the rundown on feats, abilities, weapons, and fit a few solid jokes in, amazing analysis. This fight, can we let Devil Artemis do his thing more often? Everyone was on their fucking game for this episode. First off, shout out to Little Karibo for reprising his role as Frieza from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and a big round of applause for Tom Shulk for not only sounding like Megatron, but making him sound badass. The animation is clean as hell, and is backed by one of the greatest backing tracks ever created. Brandon Yates went all out on Final Formers. It is an absolute fucking banger. The fight progresses really well, with Frieza being a pompous asshole, with Megatron being a conniving asshole. We get a decent gag with the tank, and then we get what might be the greatest transformation sequence ever made on Death Battle. They did such a good job recreating the golden transformation scene, and it's followed by a rise in the music that goes with Frieza chucking a death ball at Megatron. We get a bit more of Frieza being an asshole, but then Megatron gets his big moment, with antimatter pouring from his eyes as he roasts Frieza into fucking oblivion. So much so that Frieza turns into Black Frieza, not for fear of losing, but to make sure he can do as much damage to Megatron as possible, followed by a nice fake out and a sick as hell ending. We get a nice conclusive post-analysis, and everything is nice, and Frieza is gonna go on another murder spree. Good times. Easy 10 out of 10. Remember how I said I was really nostalgic for Alex Mercer's analysis? Well, this episode is that feeling personified. While I played Prototype in my early teen years, I grew up on Courage the Cowardly Dog and Scooby-Doo. Specifically, What's New Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Funnily enough, the day before Gojo vs. Makima, I decided to watch Straight Outta Nowhere, the official Scooby-Doo and Courage crossover movie. No reason other than I saw it on HBO and thought, these two together? That sounds awesome. And I was right, the movie is awesome. But imagine my surprise when I get to the end of Gojo vs. Makima and see Scooby-Doo vs. Courage announced. Seeing them talk about Scooby-Doo was something else, not something I ever thought I would see. Seeing the massive history of this beloved character be intertwined with the insane cartoon feats was funny as hell, especially the Zabriskie Triangle. Good job to Maddie Ziegler, and thank you for not blowing up the universe. But seriously, I had a dumb grin the entire time I watched this. From the simple backstory, to insane feats, to shitting on Scrappy-Doo. Scooby's analysis was perfect. Courage had much less to go over, sadly. As much as I love Courage, he never had the same level of fame as Scooby, so outside of a couple comics, he mostly just had the one TV show. But it gave just enough weird shit to cover and be entertaining. Courage's analysis felt very different from Scooby's. Scooby's felt like the telling of the story around him while going over his feats, but Courage's felt like the story of Courage with some feats thrown in, and this makes sense. Courage's whole thing is self-improvement, fighting past the fear for those you love. But, of course, we still had the wacky shit like the God Bone or shattering the sun. Just like with Scooby's, I had a big-ass smile the whole time I was watching. Then, the fight. I get the feeling the whole team was on something, because this is outstanding. Courage and Scooby both look amazing, and both their voices are spot on, especially Courage. I had to check to see if it was the official voice actor. This fight is very unique, as it starts with both running from the same monster, but Courage in his fear trips Scooby, who gets pissed at Courage for leaving him. Then the fight and hijinks begin. There's a lot of fun back and forth. Then we get the Scooby-Doo hallway gag, a Godzilla and Columbo cameo, and Computer being a sassy asshole. When I watched this with my mom, we both laughed hard when the Computer came out. We get some gorgeous animation leading into the end. Now, unless I don't know the characters, I try to do as much research as I can to try and get the verdict myself before the episode airs. I was not able to watch all of Scooby-Doo. I have a job and other shit that needs to get done, but I found a lot of it myself. This is the first time that I went in with no answer. I always have an answer. Even if I am extremely uncertain, I have an answer, but I could not think of a conclusion. Then, it ties, the first one since Season 3. That just feels nice. Plus, Eustace gets trapped in the chest of demons. The conclusion goes into essentially what I thought the battle is. Never ending. Neither can win. A beautiful end for two amazing dogs. Before I give the score, there may be one scene that you expected me to talk about, but I skipped over. And that is because I wanted to save it for the end, because it is my single favorite moment in any death battle ever made. Scooby-Doo growing to the size of a planet to do a fucking Asura's Wrath reference, giving one of the greatest shots ever, then having Courage respond in the only logical way, screaming. And it works. I like to personally think this was a bit strategic, because he knew his scream was his best shot, but also just pure terror. 10 out of 10, holy fuck I love this, and we still got 4 more to go. Well, would you look at that, my second most wanted matchup of all time. That knocks Alphonse vs. Ezreco up to second. While I didn't vote for this personally in the Champions ballot, yes, I know I said it was my second favorite matchup, but I thought it was much more likely to happen on its own than Mordecai and Rigby versus Finn and Jake, so I voted for that. I was extremely happy when it won, if not a little worried. These two are so chaotic and have so many abilities, I wasn't 100% sure they could pull this off. Clearly, these fears were not warranted. Bill's analysis was extremely well done, showing off just how insane the entire show Gravity Falls is, and how Bill is even crazier than that. Gravity Falls is tied for my favorite cartoon of all time, tied with The Last Airbender and Amphibia. So hearing them go over it was an amazing feeling. Again. Look, this show makes me nostalgic a lot. I think the gag of Bill taking over Wiz's body is extremely in character for Wiz and was a lot of fun. And something this analysis does that is unique to this fight alone is the combatants are talking back and forth. With Deadpool, we have seen him messing with the sidebar information and even the script, but Bill and Discord are straight up having an argument in the sidebar about their abilities and such. It is extremely in character for both. Discord's analysis was a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm kind of glad My Little Pony took a 5-year break from the show. It helped make this analysis even more unique than it already is. Taking a look into the later seasons of MLP that I never watched in the comic was a lot of fun, seeing all the things Discord has referenced over the years, and hold on, they just referenced the Thor speed meme. Oh man, that's one of my favorite things to come out of Death Battle, and they referenced it. Gotta love this show. We then get to my favorite gag ever, Discord turning Wiz and Boomstick into Ben and Chad. Masterpiece. And got a real hearty laugh out of me. God, I love Discord, and I love that they are talking about him. Gravity Falls may be tied to my favorite cartoon, but Discord is one of my favorite characters in fiction, period. The fight looks absolutely fucking gorgeous, paired with some ridiculously good voice acting. Plus, both sprites are custom, and they move so fluidly. The fight starts good, pretty lighthearted, throwing shit, couple lasers, the works. Discord turns Bill into a Dorito and eats him, setting the tone for the rest of the fight. We get a nice jump through a couple animation styles, claymation, rubber hose, then puppets. A very fun segment that got a nice chuckle out of me. Bit more solid animation leading to a funny as hell chess joke, and into the amazing ending. Discord goes into Bill's mind and drops the hardest line imaginable.
We may be evenly matched, Bill, but I've seen your show, my two-dimensional nuisance, and I know how you die.
Which then leads into the hardest shot imaginable.
I'm an all-seeing God!
Then into an amazing death, with Discord trapping Bill back in the Nightmare Realm before dying. The post-analysis is very concise and thorough as per usual, and I enjoy the end joke, but something I really like about the ending in this fight is Discord won, in a way. Even though he died, he trapped Bill in the Nightmare Realm, left a note explaining what happened to his friends, and since he is the embodiment of chaos, he will come back to life. So even if he died, he won the war. 10 out of 10, masterpiece. The most requested matchup in Death Battle history, and it took them this long to do it. Honestly, very worth the wait. Galactus is one of those Marvel villains I never knew a whole lot about. Just a few basic things like he devoured planets and his herald was the Silver Surfer. Hearing his analysis has given me a new interest in reading his comics. The start of the universe, the power cosmic incarnate, destroyer of an infinite multiverse, Galactus is the motherfucker in Marvel Comics, and they do a great job portraying that. Comic episodes this season have been a lot better because we stopped focusing on the big scaling feats unless they had to. I don't think a single one of these feats has been brought up before, making this an extremely unique analysis. Then we get to Unicron. 2 Transformers episodes in one season after taking a 5-year break? This is truly amazing. I knew even less about Unicron before watching this, and my god is he cool. The embodiment of evil and destruction. Just being near him can drive you insane or wipe you from existence. They do an amazing job talking him up as the baddest character to ever enter Death Battle. It makes me want Unicron in the next Transformers movie. I don't even like those movies. But seriously, they did such an amazing job with both of their information. The fight is just, oh my god, how did they afford this level of animation? The fight looks absolutely stunning. It's clean, smooth, has great choreography, and an amazing sense of escalating scale, starting with throwing planets up to using entire galaxies and universes as ammo in their fight. Unicron gets an extremely badass transformation, and both are for some reason talking in rhymes, but like, I'm totally here for it. And the music is just so beautiful, and it flows with the fight extremely well, and they actually got me with the fake out ending. I thought Unicron got the dub, but Galactus came ripping out of that fucking pocket dimension and absorbed Unicron. That ending shot of Galactus with a universe in his hand is just so fucking hard. As per usual, the conclusion is very good. I honestly don't have much to say on any of them, but not including them felt wrong. But seriously, this was worth the wait. 10 out of 10, holy fuck. I sighed so fucking hard when this got announced. I wanted this to happen eventually, but I wanted it to happen when Dragon Ball Super was over. I was so confident this would be a repeat of the last one, but then we got a hint that Dragon Ball Heroes would be used. Then Bedin said it was a whole new team with a whole new outlook. And the big one, Superman has limits. I was getting more and more hyped, excited to see what would happen with everything that has come out since Season 2. Goku's analysis was beautiful, a great telling of his story, and the effect it had on the West and anime as a whole. They even went over his more weird and whack stuff like the Mafuba, stuff I never thought they would bring up. But they were covering all their bases here. While not as long as the original Goku analysis, I think it fits just as much, if not more important info, in its time constraint, and that's with having to go over Dragon Ball, Z, Super, and Heroes. They break down his powers, feats, character, and story so amazingly, but they did that twice already. Superman is what had me the most worried. Superman's analysis actually starts off in a way I never thought they would, telling you to ignore the movies. Not because they are bad, but because they don't capture the core of what Superman is. A simple solution to hard problems. Hearing a full tale of why Superman was made was inspiring. In the bleakest of moments and the hardest of times, sometimes a simple story can help put a smile on your face. They went over the origin of Superman in such a way that was extremely intriguing, and it made me pick up some Superman comics for the first time in a while. From what I understand, when the possibility of this matchup happening was brought up 3 years ago, Ultra Guy took it upon himself to find and read through every single comic that contained Superman, and my god, did that research pay off. They pulled from everything. It makes sense, since modern comics have made almost all of them canon. But going over everything from the mental blocks up to one-shotting the World Forger, they did exactly what I hoped they would. They didn't repeat the past, and they put respect on the Man of Steel. The fight starts the moment the doors open. There is no opening dialogue or anything. No, we get in and they are flying around throwing punches. Then we get some dialogue. It's at this point I would like to bring up Super, the amazing track Brandon Yates made for this episode. 10 out of 10, but not my favorite Dragon Ball track. It's ahead of Reverse Rose and Hedge of Tomorrow, but behind Princess of Pride, Final Formers, and Dragon Dance. Anyway, on to the fight. As per usual, the choreography is amazing. We have again fixed an issue from the previous fight. Superman is actually trying. Not going off from the start, but he's trying and not just shitting on Goku. We get a few solid hits and lines of dialogue, and then they are over a lake, and we get a wicked shot into space, then a 1-inch punch, then the fucking moon explodes, and then a nice character moment. Goku is nonchalant about blowing up the moon, knowing it's an easy fix, but Superman has a moment of clarity and gets his amazing
world made of cardboard.
Alright, I'll show you just how powerful I really am.
Then, at this point, I realize I really like what Michael Kovic and Xander Mobus are doing, but I kinda miss... Wait a minute. Superman just hit Goku so hard, we saw into another universe of them fighting, and that voice. That was Masako! No way they're gonna... They did it again! That was just some random guy! And we got a third one with no voice line, but a wicked shot of Cosmic Armor Superman versus Zeno Goku. Man, Ben said to listen for Masako and just some random guy, but I didn't know what to expect, and that was awesome. We get another sweet character moment, and then a cold as hell Ultra Instinct transformation, which again leads into some amazing shots, and then my favorite part, Superman has drained himself, so he starts flying through all the suns of the universe. And then we get an amazing delivery from Michael.
Finally!
I already thought he was doing astounding, but that finally going into the Kamehameha was so dead on, I legit thought it may have been a clip from the anime. We then get an amazing recreation of the first ending with what I think is the best Kamehameha scream we have ever gotten, and then an amazing clash to finish it off. Then we get a scene that had me slightly worried at first. Goku sitting in the afterlife. We did this once before, and it kicked DBZ fans while they were down. Ben has said this himself, but this was perfect. A show of respect for each other's strength and a promise to fight each other again someday, with flashes into other universes of them clashing. It's so beautiful and perfect, and oh my god, there's a fucking JoJo's reference. Anyway, for the most part, I won't say much about the post-analysis since this segment is already fairly long, but I will say I like how much they broke everything down. Then, we get to the ending speech. Wiz having a breakdown on why he does this, who really cares, and is just tearing down characters, but Boomstick breaks them out of it and breaks it down very nicely. They make this show, and we watch this show because it's fun, and we can put respect on these characters, win or lose. I have rambled enough about this episode, so obvious, 10 out of 10. Now the number one episode, what I think is the best episode of this season. Pinnacle of the season has arrived. Yes, I think this season peaked at episode 2, but still, the rest of the season was still really good. I have a friend who isn't super into Death Battle anymore, but this episode, this one right here, got us debating for months. The episode got revealed to be happening before we even knew about Ant-Man vs. the Atom, and with me being as big a Dark Souls fan as I am, and her being as big an Elder Scrolls fan, the debates began, both trying to sway the other to their side, and my god was that fun. We made up whole Google Docs finding feats, abilities, and anything we could find, so even before this episode dropped, I was hyped. Hearing them go over the lore of Dark Souls just felt right. My two favorite things on the planet had finally met, and it was beautiful. The journey the Chosen Undead goes on is a treacherous one, full of torment, hard bosses, and a lot of lives lost, good and bad, and they go over all of it. I sometimes forget just how well they can cover a full story in a limited time, since they tend to cover a lot of characters I'm not fully familiar with. I've played the games or watched the show, but I don't know everything in depth. But I do with Dark Souls. So discussing the cool bosses, the defeat of characters like Manus and Gwyn, bringing up the universe-hopping Moonlight Greatsword, and going into the different paths you can take the world, breathtaking. Plus, seeing Jocelyn again is always cool. I have played Skyrim, but I'm not as into Elder Scrolls as I am Dark Souls, so bear with me. Starting with the Hey You meme was honestly the best way to start, and then giving the modding community some love before going into the story was a nice touch. This episode taught me a lot about Skyrim, and actually had me go back and play it again. Still doing that, honestly. I haven't even made it to the Greybeards yet. Been too busy building houses. Anyway, the journey across Skyrim is an interesting one, and this uncovered a lot of things I didn't know from my, admittedly, bare-bones first playthrough, like the Daedric weapons, the battle with Mirek, or shouts like Time Slow, or summoning a fucking dragon? What the hell? I gotta find that one soon. The cheese wheel math was extremely appreciated, as well as the look back on the story of Oblivion and Morrowind and their impacts on Skyrim, or the look at the absolute god that is Alduin, and reminded me why I really enjoy this game and why it gets the love it deserves. The Dragonborn is a badass, and if anyone was going to go up against my favorite games, I'm glad it's them. The fight starts in a surprising way. The Chosen Undead has seemingly defeated Gwyn, but the Dragonborn is being told by Koth that the Chosen Undead wants to plunge the world into darkness. We get some sick sword combat leading into the rolling joke, and honestly, I think this was the best way to do it. Get the meme out of the way, and then we can focus on the fight instead of dragging it through the fight. We get a sick Smo's Great Hammer Strike followed by an arrow to the knee joke, and then Time Slow into Soul Tear into the Chosen Undead's first death. My god, they are already going hard and letting them both just go off, and we have a good amount more to go. Dragonborn tries fire, but Chosen Undead says, nope, have a crystal soul spear, then just fucking wails on him for a second before the Dragonborn calls for backup, which then murders Chosen Undead. But while Dragonborn is healing, he comes back and one-taps the dragon. Dragonborn summons a lightning storm, and Chosen Undead catches the fucking lightning to use Sun Spear. Holy shit, this is going so hard, and okay, this next shot, oh my god. I watched this fight with my dad, and when I saw the Chosen Undead grab the Moonlight Greatsword and hold it in front of his face like the promotional art in Ludwig, I jumped up from the couch and was so fucking giddy. I cannot even come close to explaining the pure joy I felt. Then the Dragonborn grabbed Dawnbreaker and my dad got super excited, and it's followed by an amazing clash of blades and the moonlight beams. Dragonborn tries to shout again, but Chosen Undead casts Vow of Silence, not only stopping the shout, but actually quieting the music. Don't worry, we will get to that soon. We get another cool clash, followed by Dragonborn stabbing Dawnbreaker through Chosen Undead, but he just climbs up and starts choking him out, and despite being a silent protagonist, he drops the coldest line fucking possible.
Prepare to die.
Before fucking losing. Okay, look, I'm sad he lost, but it's still peak. Now, Fireborn. This episode's track it deserves its own section here after the fight, not just a little blurb in the middle. The first and likely only episode to feature the Death Battle fan choir. Fireborn is, without a single doubt in my mind, the greatest track ever made for this show. It goes so goddamn hard. It goes quiet with vow silence, and it sounds like it could be in either game flawlessly. Holy shit, I love this song and this episode. The post-analysis is amazing as per usual, but I am going to openly state this. I disagree with the outcome, yet it remains my number one. This whole thing is subjective and up to interpretation. It's a huge part of what Goku vs. Superman was about. So yes, I think Chosen Undead should have won, but this is still amazing and the best of the season. So fucking good. Please bring Dark Souls back again soon. And there you have it, my definitive ranking of the season. Except I will likely have new opinions in a few months. My opinions change constantly, but one thing has stayed consistent. Except during my little break in Season 6, but shh. My love for Death Battle. After seeing what they accomplished this season, I am so excited to see what Season 11 will bring for this amazing show. This video is long, the longest video since I started editing, I think. My Borderlands video might be longer, but that took zero effort to edit, so I want to do rankings for the other seasons, and who knows, maybe I'll do individual, more in-depth reviews for episodes. We shall see. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a great day.